Hello, dear students. I'm Dr. Govind Sarswat, and today we will discuss one of the holy sonnets of John Donne. The title of the poem is Death Be Not Proud. Before we discuss or analyze the poem, let me tell you something about the poet John Donne. He was born in 1572 and he died in 1631. He was both a poet and divine. He was brought up as a Roman Catholic, but he joined the Church of England and rose to be the Dean of St. Paul's Cathedral. His poems range from deeply religious pieces to coarse, secular ones. They include lyrics, sonnets, elegies, satires, and epigrams. He is recognized as the greatest of the so called metaphysical poets, whose works um, was full of unconventional and far fetched images and conceits drawn from the most unlikely sources. His own poems show these in abundance, but also exhibit a dramatic power and an individuality that have made him very popular with the present day poets. John Donne and his followers, they are known or they are famous as metaphysical poets, and he is the leader of that metaphysical school of poetry. In another lecture, we will discuss the main features of metaphysical poetry, but right now we are concerned with this holy sonnet that be not proud. This sonnet was written in 1609 and it was published in 1633 in Songs and Sonnets. So it was published after the death of John Donne. This is an Italian or classical sonnet because the 14 lines of this sonnet are divided into two parts. The first 8 lines of this sonnet are known as octave, and the remaining 6 lines are as sestet or sestet. This poem is in a way very different. How John Donne has treated or behaved with death is very surprising, and the logic of John Donne is superb, as you know, for which he is always famous. This poem is addressed to death. Now, death is personified because it is just an abstract thing. No one can see, touch, or but we can experience its presence when someone dies. So, death is directly addressed by the poet John Donne. So, we can say that death is personified, and the rhetoric of John Donne here is that he is in a way challenging death. He says that uh, the death should not feel proud of herself. It is not a thing to be feared about. We must not fear from death. It is not an object to be fearful. And how does he prove it is given in this poem. So let's begin with the text. The poem begins as Death, be not proud, though some have called thee mighty and dreadful, for thou art not so. From the very beginning, the stance of John Donne is very clear. He addresses death and says her that you must not feel proud of yourself, because though means yadyapi halanki, some people, they have known you as mighty means powerful, dreadful means from which people fear, जिससे लोग डरते हैं. But for means लेकिन, thou are not so, लेकिन तुम ऐसे नहीं हो. It means John Donne says that although many people take you to be an to take you to be a thing as powerful and very you can say horrible, but you must feel yourself proud because you are not like this. For those whom thou thinkest, think thou dost overthrow, die not, poor death, nor yet canst thou kill me. And then he says, you think that you have taken away some people from this earth. It means you feel that you are the reason for the death of some people. But I want to tell you that uh, those people, they were not dead. They did not die poor death. And in the same way, you cannot even kill me. And then in the next line, his logic is analogical to something, something which is like death. He says that from rest and sleep, which but thy pictures be, much pleasure, then from thee much more must flow. So why he is John Donne in these lines tries to suggest everyone that why we must not fear from death, because he says that there are two things, rest and sleep, and from which we derive much pleasure. And he says that rest and sleep are just like you. Okay, they are just thy picture, they resemble you. And if death, you are like rest and sleep from which we derive much pleasure, then how much pleasure, how much more pleasure uh, we would derive from you when we will die. So here the word die should be taken in another sense. Here he wants to Jordan wants to prove that why we should not fear from death, because death is like a long sleep. Okay, and if from a short sleep we feel ourselves refreshed and we feel much pleasure, then just imagine how much pleasure or how much rest will we derive from that long sleep which is known as death. And soonest our best men with thee do go. And this line ये जब लाइन पढ़ते हैं तो कई बार मन में ये आता है कि कई लोग जो कहते हैं वो सही कहते हैं कि जिनको जो लोग अच्छे होते हैं उनकी डेथ जल्दी हो जाती है, जो बेस्ट होते हैं वो इस दुनिया से जल्दी ही चले जाते हैं. That is why he says that soonest our best men with thee do go, rest of their bones and souls delivery. So he says that uh, when the best men of this world they go with you, means to say when they depart from this world, they their bones they are at rest, and the soul is in a way delivered from their body. What generally the idea here is that death only frees their souls from the prison of their bodies, and in this way death provides rest to their bodies. So this is all about the first 8 lines, which is the octave of this Italian sonnet. Now the tune or the tone of John Donne changes from the next line, which is the first of this sestet part. John Donne says, "Thou art slave to fate, chance, kings, and desperate men, and does with poison, war, and sickness dwell." He says that death is not self reliant, it is dependent on so many other things. That is not mighty, that is not powerful. It is not like a mighty king, but like a wretched slave. It is a slave to fate, chance, wicked and malicious persons, poisons, wars, and sickness. So death is not the cause, but the instrument. It obeys the call of accidents, kings, wicked murderers, poison, war, old age, and sickness. So the idea is that it is not a free agent, but a miserable slave who lives in such wretched company as sickness and of old age. It cannot be regarded as glorious or mighty in uh, in any way. So, as a matter of fact, John Donne here wants to suggest that if death were powerful, if death were frightening, then it would be self reliant and could kill people on her own. But it is not so. Death is just, death uses other mediums like fate. Sometimes because of accident people die, because sometimes by chance also. And there are some tyrants or some kings who behave like tyrants, and they cause wars and slaughter. And there are some desperate men who, because of depression, they commit suicide, and they use poison for this. And then people die in war and sickness also. And poppy or charms can make us sleep as well. So here Jordan says that there is no reason uh, at all for death to be proud of its powers. uh, Opium preparations or similar other intoxicants or drugs supposed to have magical properties can induce better sleep and with a far gentler and painless operation. People, when they take drugs or some other intoxicating material like opium, they derive much pleasure. It induces sleep. And in the octave, John Donne has presented or has shown that death is similar to a long sleep. And when you take sleep, you get rest and you feel refreshed, and it is pleasing also. So he says death, death, you can you can be painful sometimes, but when people take these intoxicating things, and their effect is much more gentler than thy stroke and better than thy stroke, why swellest thou then? Why swellest मतलब तुम फूल के क्यों गुप्पा हो रही हो? Why are you puffed up with pride? Then the ending of this poem is very surprising and full of logic. He says that it is an example of paradox also. We will discuss it later on. He says that one short sleep past we wake eternally, and death shall be no more. Death, thou shalt die. Generally, it is believed that all the people or all the creatures who take birth, they will die one day. But the last line of this poem says, "Death, thou shalt die." Why? It is the answer is in the first and half lines of these of the ending of this poem. He says that one short sleep passed. एक बार क्या होगा कि एक छोटी सी नींद आएगी और उसके बाद में we will wake eternally. So the idea here is that the body will die. The body will sleep one day. एक दिन क्या होगा, बॉडी हमेशा के लिए सो जाएगी. The body will sleep for forever, and the soul will wake up. And in the realm of soul, there will be no more death. Death shall be no more, because it is believed, and Christians believe that that at the end of the world, all the dead will rise from their graves and appear before God for the final judgment. So we will wake eternally, and the souls do not die. So he says that body will sleep one day forever, and the soul of everyone will wake up eternally. And in the realm of souls, in the world of souls, there will be no more death. Death in the realm of souls, you will die. You cannot cast your influence there. So the last line, death shall, thou shall die, is virodhabhashi. It means it is paradoxical in itself because we feel that विरोधाभास क्यों है इसमें कि मृत्यु तुम ही मर जाओगे, तो पहला ख्याल जो मन में आता है वो ये आता है कि हाउ इज़ इट पॉसिबल, कैसे मर सकती है डेथ खुद अपने आप में। लेकिन जॉन डन ने ये जो लाइन कही है ये एक ग्रेटर ट्रुथ की तरफ इशारा करती है, और वो ग्रेटर ट्रुथ क्या है जो उसने प्रूव किया है शुरुआत की एक दो लाइन में, कि जो सोल्स का संसार है, आत्माओं का जो संसार है, वहाँ पे मृत्यु नाम की कोई चीज़ नहीं होती है। उस उस रील में, उस आत्मा के संसार में मृत्यु की ही मृत्यु हो जाती है, एंड इट इज़ अ ट्रुथ, no one can have any doubt about it. So this is all about the holy sonnet, death be not proud. And let me tell you something about this sonnet. uh, okay, I told you that it was published in 1633 in Songs and Sonnets. The rhyme scheme of this sonnet is ABBA, ABBA. So this is all about the octave part. And in the susset, we will find the rhyme scheme CDD and CEE. I hope that you were now it's this sonnet is very clear, and the message of John Donne is well communicated to you people, and you will uh, try to go into the details of this sonnet, and just go through the lines, try to fathom out the meaning that has been incorporated by the poet John Donne, and try to feel the rhetoric of John Donne, the logic of John Donne, that how has he uh, addressed death, and in a way have changed all our outlook regarding death, because many people fear death, whereas in this poem the message of John Donne is very clear that we must not fear death, and he has proved it that it is not powerful, it is not dreadful, it is just a slave of some other things on which it is a, you can say, reliant, or it is dependent on other things. And one day we will wake eternally, and in the realm of souls there will be no more death, death will die herself. So this is all about this holy sonnet, death be not proud. Thank you for listening me carefully.